Hi, I'm Chappie. I'd like to talk to you today about how to train yourself. Going to a class is the last step in your training process, or the second to last step, not the first. Your first step is determining what you need to know. We do this through a process of determining our mission, whether it's personal protection, home defense, law enforcement patrol, law enforcement tactical operations, military operations, whatever it is. First thing we do is determine what our mission is. Then we need to break that mission down into tasks, things that we need to know how to do. Once we've broken it down into tasks, we need to develop a set of procedures for each of those tasks. What things are we going to do, or what tactics are we going to apply to a specific set of circumstances in order to achieve the desired outcome? Once we have those procedures built, we're going to break those procedures down into techniques. What kind of techniques are we going to need to apply to circumstances for this procedure? An example of a technique is shooting around a barricade or shooting from the kneeling. Those are techniques. All of those little techniques built up create a procedure. Once we've identified that list of techniques, we need to identify what skills go into each of those techniques. Some skills are common, like ready positions, or pressing the trigger smoothly, or front sight focus for a pistol. We need to determine through those techniques all of the skills that will be necessary to perform that technique correctly and effectively. So we take skills and build them into techniques. We take techniques and build them into procedures. We apply procedures to circumstances to create a tactic. When we're choosing which training we need to take, there's obviously many factors that go into it. But our starting point needs to be, what sort of skills or techniques do we need to learn for our mission to create our procedures? Once we've identified the skills or techniques that we need to learn, we need to identify a reputable company that teaches those. How do we do that? Internet research. Keep in mind that, myself included, any trainer that talks about themselves, that's secondary information. That's biased information. The best information is word of mouth from somebody that you trust, who's taken training from this person. The second best is internet. Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil. It's a mass communication tool. Internet information that's from a non-biased source. So internet postings or Facebook postings that are from people who you know are not affiliated with the company, but have firsthand knowledge of taking the classes and the things they got out of it. Once we choose a school, do some research. Figure out, are they a reputable school? Is what they teach defendable in court? Remember, most of us are operating in a domestic environment as either law enforcement officers or armed citizens. We need to be able to defend not only what we did, but how we learned to do it. It's important. Once you've established all those things, you'll have it probably naturally narrowed down to one or two people, or even three. Take training as you can afford it from all of those people. It's important to have multiple perspectives on the same skill or technique, because all of us teach from our own paradigm. I teach from a domestic law enforcement tactical operations paradigm, and somewhat from a PMC overseas contractor paradigm. But most of what I teach and most of my experience base is from the tactical law enforcement community, and frankly as an armed citizen carrying off duty. If your skills and techniques that you require are more of a military special operations focus, take them from somebody who has that knowledge base and that experience. As you're in class, I'd like you to think about doing a couple of things. First of all, come prepared. Have your shit together. Have your rifle zeroed. Have mags loaded. Have your gear checked. Put your vest on before you show up at class. The first time you use this stuff should not be when you're paying to be there. Secondly, have an open mind. Be prepared to receive the information that the instructor is transmitting. I guarantee you, if you did your research, you're going to be standing in front of an instructor who has prepared himself. He's prepared to teach a specific skill and technique based on thought and experience. Be prepared to listen to what he has to say with no bias. What you read on the internet doesn't matter. As an instructor, we don't want to hear about why you think what we're teaching is fucked up. Take what we give you, separate out what you can use and retain it, and then practice it. Have a good attitude with your fellow students. I don't care who you are, you're not better than anybody else. Take the time to take advantage of the brotherhood and the fellowship that's naturally created in any tactical class. Use that to your advantage to get information not only from the instructors, but from other students. Every class will have that guy, and even that guy you can learn stuff from. You can learn what not to do or what not to apply to your particular circumstance. Finally, take good notes in class. It doesn't bother me as an instructor, and all of the top tier instructors that I know and have taken classes from and work with on a regular basis don't mind you taking notes. Please do that. Use a training log. It doesn't have to be anything fancy that you buy off the internet. It can be a spiral-bound notebook that you keep, and keep a note of the date and time, about how many rounds you fired, and what you took out of the class sustains and improves. The military AAR system that Paul Howe stresses, the sustain and improve, is an unbeatable system for keeping track of what you've learned and what you need to work on. Taking those notes, actually writing them down, helps you fulfill your end of the bargain of training, which is doing this stuff after the class. Imagine that you are a golfer and you've taken very expensive golfing lessons, and you practice those golfing lessons for 2 or 4 or 6 days. Then you don't golf for 2 months. You're told with no notice that you have to go to Pebble Beach and play a golf match against Tiger Woods. And if you lose, they cut your fucking head off. That's what gunfighting is. You have to practice this stuff all the time. This is like driving. The reason you're good at driving is you do it all the time. It's a complex motor skill involving lots of information input, and the correct answer needs to be applied every time or you die. So practice this stuff after you've spent all this time and money and resources and time away from your family learning it. Apply it in your training for yourself. Several people have said before me, and I agree with it completely, you don't go to training to learn something, you go to training to learn how to train yourself. Think of it as a down payment on your house. You don't own it by taking the class, you own it by training over and over and over again and internalizing those skills.